everybody, I'm Michaela Schick, and this is my presentation for my first module. I apologize, I cannot get Screencast-O-Matic to work properly, so I have to open it like that. So a little bit about me. I am born and raised in Shawnee, Kansas, and that is where I currently still live. I'm a KU graduate. I graduated in the class of 2016, so this is my second year of teaching. For both those years, I worked as a 5th grade teacher, and I've worked both years at Emerson Elementary School in Kansas City, Kansas School District. We have about 180 students, so it's a pretty small school by Kansas City standards. And we are a K through 5 school, so we have kindergarten through 5th grade students, and I teach 5th grade. And it is a high ESL population at our school, and we have a high low income population at our school. And I absolutely love this school. I think it's a great place to work. I'm very happy there. I am working on my Master's of Education and Administration. And this is my second semester, so I took off my first year teaching from school and then started back in with this in the fall of my second year, so fall 2017. So for my critical reflection of my current school administrator, I did of my principal, Brett Bernard. So Brett's a principal that I really admire a lot. We have very different kind of leadership styles. He's much more laissez-faire, hands-off than I am, but I do really respect him, and I think he's a great principal. And something I've noticed about him is he's always confident in his decisions. So if he is making a decision that requires knowledge of a school law or school board policy, he's very confident in it. And he's also someone I view as being someone who does the right thing. So someone who really has the best interest of his students and his teachers in mind and wants the best for everyone. So he's definitely not someone who's going to try to kind of get around following a policy or get around following a law to benefit himself or make his job easier. He's definitely someone who's going to do the right thing when it comes to adhering to these rules. So we have had professional development training through Brett in certain legal aspects. A couple that I can remember off the top of my head are mental health of students, so like suicide prevention and de-escalation training, so making sure that we know if a student is having like out of control behavior, what we're supposed to do in that situation, what we're legally allowed to do in that situation, that kind of stuff. I believe those two topics are mandated by the state, if I remember correctly. I think that there could and should be a lot more legal training happening in our building. I don't necessarily blame Brett for that. We have a lot going on, and I don't think that that solely rests on a principal, but to some extent, it is a responsibility of a principal to determine the direction of training in a school. So some topics that have come up this year that we've had legal questions on are you required to have a full-time ESL teacher in a building? What is the requirement for that? Or what if all your staff aren't ESL certified? Can you not have an ESL teacher? So that's kind of a current topic going around in our school. Adherence to student minutes. So we have students with minutes that they need to be in special ed classrooms, minutes that they need to be in speech therapy or occupational therapy, minutes that they need to be seeing counseling. So what is the requirement to that? If someone is absent, like a speech teacher or a counselor, do they need to make up those minutes? Kind of unsure where the legal standing is on that. And then something I'm kind of curious about is like suspension protocol. So if we're having kids get suspended, I've heard that around the KZK district we have kids who are doing similar behaviors getting suspended for vastly different amounts of time. So to me, it's I would love to know more about what's the legal protocol in school board policies regarding school suspension. So overall, I think Brett is a really great administrator and does a really good job of adhering to laws and policies, but I think that there's definitely a lot more training that could be happening in our building. So then I did a critical reflection on the district as a whole. So the school board policies and district policies are easily available online. They're really clearly labeled on the school website. I had not had a ton of experience with these policies, so I decided to kind of take a look through and see what we had policies on. A few that I just saw right away that I decided to include in this presentation are truancy, non-discrimination, and property searches, like student property, student lockers. Searching those types of things. We have policies on all of those that are easily available to the public, to students, to parents, all online. My one concern is, are these also available in hard copies in school buildings? I know being that we serve a low-income population in this district, some of our families don't have access to internet at home, so I want to make sure that these policies are available to all, and you could also say available in different languages as well, so that they're accessible to all students and families. One of the policies that I found seemed to be really out of line with laws, in my opinion. So we have a policy on student demonstrations, which has been a huge topic in the news the last couple weeks. with students doing protesting in their schools. So I wanted to see what our district's policy was on that. And our district's policy is that demonstrations are allowed, but they shouldn't interfere with the education of the school. However, administrators are allowed to stop demonstrations at any time. And that's really all it says about demonstrations. So obviously administrators need to maintain control in the school and need to maintain a place of education in the school building, but likewise, students do have rights in schools. They have rights to demonstrate, so I don't know that having a blanket administrators can stop this at any time for any reason really is a legal policy for us to have as a district. Also, an issue that I see in our district, again, kind of I mentioned with my school, is there's really not a lot of staff training going on these different policies or laws that could impact teachers on a daily basis, and so I feel like that is a huge problem to me. So then it gets into my personal critique. So my prior experience with laws and policies related to education are an undergraduate class that I took at KU, and I feel like that class really heavily focused on special education law. I can't really remember a day of that class where that's not what we were talking about with special education law. So while special education laws are extremely important and I would love to know about them, I would also like to know about other laws. So I feel like I'm lacking in knowledge in this area. I also have done a decent amount of research for one of my courses that I've already completed for my master's, a case study in that course, which was all about search of student property. So I've completed that, and so I feel very well versed in student property laws. I love reading. I consider myself an education nerd. I love reading about news articles or policy decisions that states or the U.S. Department of Education are making that impact educational well-being of students. I am always coming up with some article that I want to read and that I want to share with others about what's going on in schools, what's going on in districts, what's going on in states or the nation. I am a total nerd for education policy. So I'm really looking forward to this class more than I think I've been looking forward to any of my other classes in my master's, just because this is a topic that interests me so much. However, I feel that even though I've had some experience, I'm still really lacking in knowledge of these laws or relevant court cases that impact education, and of my own school board's policies. I haven't really received training in those, so I feel like we are lacking in that information. And then I just think sometimes the amount of information, the amount of laws that can impact a school or can impact students in schools can just be overwhelming. And so you don't really know where to start sometimes in finding that information. So overall, I gave myself a C+. I might be being a little bit harsh on myself, but I just feel like I have a lot of improvement to go in my knowledge of school laws and school policies. So because I feel like I have improvement to make, here's my plan of action for how I will do that. So this is for me personally. Obviously, I'm taking this course, so I'm hoping that I will learn a lot from this course, but in addition to this course, these are some actions that I'd like to take. So I'm going to continue to read and research as many different aspects of education as I can in the news. So like I said, I love reading about different aspects of education in the media, and I will continue to do that. A couple topics that came to mind for me were teacher strikes and student protests. Both of these have been huge national news topics in the last couple weeks, and I love learning, are these legal? What are the ramifications of this? How can students and teachers be punished for taking these actions? What are they getting from these actions? What are they benefiting from? So I am all in on all of that. I'm not just saying that I love protests and strikes necessarily having to happen, but I am in love with seeing education in the national news so much lately. I also can research potential legal consequences prior to taking any action. So when I was reading my school board policies, one of the things I found was that only administrators are allowed to search student property. So I would not really be allowed to search a student's backpack as a school teacher. I would have to have an administrator do that for me. I've definitely looked in students' backpacks before, I'm going to admit. So I feel like I was not legally following my school board's policy in this case. So in the future, I think I need to make sure before I complete an action that I'm checking for policies and laws to make sure that I am on the legal side of action. And then also when I find information that I find interesting or helpful, I can share this with my coworkers, or I have a lot of friends who are teachers, to further spread this knowledge and to help other people also improve in their knowledge. Then I also created a plan of action for my school or district, some actions that I feel like they could take in order to benefit teachers, students, and families. So the district could require principals to address one board policy or relevant law each Wednesday as a part of professional development. So in KCK, we get out early every Wednesday to have professional development meetings. So this would be a really easy time for principals to start making us all more aware of different policies each Wednesday. The district could also incorporate training on the board policies into, or the student code of conduct, any relevant laws, into new teacher training. So I went through new teacher training last year. There was nothing about code of conduct, there was nothing about laws, there was really nothing going on like this. So I feel like that's a huge waste that the district could be providing new teachers with this information, and they are just dropping the ball. The district could also find ways to engage parents. So I talked earlier about making sure policies are available in different languages, in hard copies in schools, and students in these conversations as well. So we want, a lot of these policies are affecting students, so we want students to be aware of them. Obviously, if they don't know the rules and they don't know that they're breaking the rules. So whether that comes into our social studies curriculum, and when we talk about rights and responsibilities, maybe we're reviewing some of these policies. U.S. government and U.S. history classes in high school, definitely I can see this fitting into the curriculum. Or whether we're taking a special 5 minutes a day to teach a policy. I'm not really sure how this would look, but I definitely think that students and families need to be more engaged in these conversations. And then finally, the district should create a committee that would review adherence to these policies. So they would go around to different schools and make sure, hey, you know, what is your how are you suspending kids? Are you suspending kids in line with what the student code of conduct says? Are you making sure that your teachers are educated on these policies? How many searches have you done of student property? Have they been legal searches of student property? So all of these different kinds of things could easily be accomplished by the district, and I think they're things that the district should do. So thank you for watching this video. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to this class this semester and to learning with all of you. Thank you.